Depends on what's on the agenda. I've probably seen maybe, it's a good turnout though.
Renee, is this an update? Okay. So Ron's to blame.
Oh, yeah, I'm playing that song, actually.
Okay, the big clock shows 6 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. Dr. Mims will not be here tonight. She has some health problems, so but we do have a quorum. Want to welcome everybody. This is the largest crowd we've had in a while. There will be public hearings after each or during each of the agenda items. I did pick up the list for the sign-in sheet, but there'll be time for you to speak during the public hearing on each item, and then we'll also pick up anything at the end of the session. If anybody didn't get a chance to sign in or has some comments to make, we'll do that. So, meeting's called to order. Let's adopt the agenda. If there are any changes, or Ron, do you know of any changes?
No changes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. All right. Brings us to old business, and the first item we have are approval of our minutes of the last meeting. You have all received those, had a chance to look at them. Any changes or comments to the minutes of last meeting?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain. I was absent.
Okay, very good. We have approval. All right. Next item on the agenda is RA 0722, the Artisan Crossing. Ron?
Good afternoon, Chairman, board members, and members of the public. This is an application RA-07-22, Artisan Crossings, for parcel numbers V0301200361 and V0301200366. The applicant is looking to develop a parcel on the corner of Industrial Boulevard, Highway 101, and Rockmart Road, and rezone the parcel from industrial medium density I2 to commercial low density C1 for the express purposes of convenience store with pumps, in addition to other retail permitted uses on several newly subdivided sites measuring approximately 1 acre, which is the minimum lot size in the C1 zone. The city has conducted analysis of this development, and bear with me here. My stuff's a little backwards. Okay. We did do some analysis to this, and the city is looking and ready to move forward tonight. However, the applicant's attorney is here and would like to speak prior to us moving forward with a public hearing tonight. And Joe, do you, if I could request for Joe Fowler, the attorney for the applicant, to approach.
Indeed.
Thank you.
We're glad to see you here. This has been delayed, what, three months in a row, I think, something, so.
Has been. Yesterday, we were contacted by representatives of the city, and they asked us to relocate the entrance to the commercial area so that it aligns with the entrance to the subdivision immediately to the north. Everybody can see that. You've got it before you, I assume.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing, man?
I got extras if anybody wants them, but of course, you can. All right, I'll just. So the concern was that the way it was designed, as it's shown here, is that it does not align with the entrance and exits to the subdivision. And that's information that we received yesterday. We haven't had a chance to fully evaluate that. It's correctly zoned for industrial, so the industrial site will begin, I think, in September. And then, in conjunction with that, the current owner of the property has sought to develop the section that you see in the corner there. And it would be convenience store, fast food, and then a car wash. Recognize there are traffic issues. If you'll notice the intersection at the top, it calls for a right in and a right out. Might be able to see that on the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the right in, right out would provide for traffic to come south on Rockmart Road and enter the facility, and then exit the facility by a right out, no left-hand turns. We were asked to consider whether or not they would eliminate the right out so as to minimize the traffic that's on Rockmart Road. Those are two things that we've just not been able to evaluate since the communication we received yesterday. We have an original letter from the city from back in 2020 that indicates that a portion of what we've requested here may be a permitted use in light industrial, LI, that is for gas pumps. So this would be a modification to provide for the other two uses that are there, and that would be fast food and for the car wash. We recognize there's concern because of the traffic that comes out from the subdivision onto the road. Perhaps the roundabout, when it's ultimately constructed, will alleviate some of that. But the industrial is already an approved use in the city, and construction on that will begin in the fall. The request is simply to rezone for the uses that are not permitted as a matter of right under the ordinance, and that is the convenience store for gas pumps. The other two uses we think would supplement the uses in the area. I don't know how many voices in the back are proposed to it, but our request is to give us some more time. It's taken a lot of time. One of the reasons was because we had to satisfy the setback requirements. And speaking with Ron, who, by the way, is always helpful to us to understand the code, we were trying to get the setback issue worked out, and that took us a while because of the location between the commercial and the industrial. We're not trying to drag this on or inconvenience anybody. We're just trying to do it right, get it right the final time so that it's as good as it can possibly get for the people in the neighborhood. So that's the request, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
So, it is your intention then to take this street that comes out from the green shaded area and move that further north so that it directly lines up opposite to the street coming out from the subdivision?
That was the request that was made yesterday, and that's what we're evaluating right now.
All right. And you can do that because, you could do it because you
On the land.
own the land,
Yes, sir.
the shaded in white, and, okay. All right, and now, so with that monkey wrench being thrown in there, what is the request in front of us today?
To table it. But you
So
probably want to
moved.
hear from the citizens. The citizens may have comments, and if they do, it may be helpful to us to know what their concerns are. I don't want to lengthen or prolong this any more than necessary, but we are
Yeah.
asking for it to be tabled.
Well,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we,
Let's
Okay.
not do that yet. There's some questions I'm sure that the commissioners have.
Oh, okay.
Where does this fit in with the roundabout that is being developed?
May I approach and show you?
Yeah,
Right there.
or that's the one that's in construction now? Is this proposed facility, is this like a racetrack kind of?
It won't be that
Situation?
large. It's not going to be that large. It's more like a neighborhood convenience store. That's the
Okay.
one right in the corner at the base of the triangle. And that's the
okay.
one that's a permitted use under LI. What we're doing is we're adding the other two uses, and that is the fast food and the car wash.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you own the rest of this property? So
Yes.
this is all
I wish I did own it.
Well,
but it happens to
the,
be
uh,
my client.
the developers?
Yes.
Own this?
They own the
Okay.
entire tract. So we've got some flexibility because even though that's 99% what they are going to do with respect to the industrial, we've got some flex room so we can comply with the wishes of the county if everything works, with the city, excuse me, if everything works out.
Do any of the commissioners have some questions?
Mr. Fowler, how much time are you thinking you need this to be tabled?
I was talking to the client today about it, and he thinks easily we can have it done by next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don? Go ahead, Don.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand I think it's pretty straightforward, but I just want to make sure I understand. So the one location on 61, there's no plans or request or been discussed about moving that entrance exit? It's just the
The
one on
one-
Rockmart Road?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's to move it,
To the
again,
north.
as you said, specifically right across from the subdivision?
Yes, sir. It would go north. You'll see the distance there. Actually, you don't have it on yours, but if you'll notice, it says 130 feet, and we need to move it about 150 or 60 feet.
Okay. So, I'm just curious, not familiar with this, right? But what's the advantage, maybe Ron,
And that would be Ron.
and I'm gonna jump back and forth, sir, if you don't mind, because I do have a couple other questions for you.
Sure. So there's a lot of benefits to lining up essentially what we consider cross access in our ordinance, and we recommend in our ordinance that we always have a four-way intersection when possible, and to eliminate or avoid dogleg intersections, which is particularly what this would become. We all know the issues with the traffic exiting Reed Plantation, particularly during peak hours and particularly in the morning. And it's been a constant stream of complaints related to the amount of traffic that is already on Rockmart Road. We obviously adding more curb cuts to the roadway is a way to increase traffic, right? The more curb cuts on a roadway, you can anticipate more passenger or more vehicular traffic to utilize it. I think with the request and the conversations that we've had with the applicant, especially yesterday, we found it to be definitely good policy and line up with the city's existing policies. To eliminate dogleg intersections and to have as much of a tie-in to existing streets as we can, because that allows for more traffic to be able to enter and exit onto sites if we have less of these roadways, and if they all match up, it's a much more controlled intersection. For example, if you exit Reed Plantation today, you can be waiting up to 20 minutes or so just to exit your neighborhood. And it's something that I've actually I've experienced. I've went out there and I've experienced it myself. And if we were to combine these two driveways into one driveway, we eliminate one of the curb cuts, but it's much more controlled access into the site and out of the site. So if you if we, particularly with the driveway north, the northernmost driveway to the industrial portion of it, if you have trucks leaving the site, particularly during peak hours, that's adding more traffic in the direct vicinity of the subdivision, so it's going to be even harder for them to get out, especially with 18-wheelers and how slow it is for them to pick up speed and all of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure, if you don't mind, I just have a couple other quick questions, which if this gets tabled, I could ask a month or 2 or 3 from now, whenever, we do finally get together. But I would like to have a couple questions real quick so I can kind of think it over while we're waiting for the next meeting. The way this is drawn right now, with the right turn out, the left turn in, are there any left turns permitted to enter either on Rockmart Road or 61 from let's just take Rockmart Road, let's just take 61. You're traveling north on 61 from I-20 towards Rockmart Road. It's only 2 lanes, one north, one south. Is there anything right now that permits a truck to be in the right lane and make a left going across oncoming traffic that's whipping around that traffic circle? Or does this drawing forbid that?
As of right now, I have not seen, maybe I have, let's see. Right, so I have not seen where in this diagram at least, where there would be a no left-hand turn on Highway 61 going into the convenience store site. There is an existing street just south of there, the industrial access road there, where there's a driveway that goes right onto that roadway, where trucks can use that driveway to go into the warehouse portion to avoid the traffic circle. But again, as you pointed out, there's cars that are going to be coming around the traffic circle. That obviously it's a lot less time for a slow-moving truck to be able to make that left-hand maneuver. But it is, as a part of this proposal, it is something that is permitted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have one other question, and maybe it can help just when you gentlemen are meeting, just maybe something to think about. One is that, having a, I keep tractor trailer, but it could just as easily could be a car, because now the whole purpose of the traffic circle is to keep traffic moving. There's no stop sign, there's no light, there's no opportunity for especially a slow-moving vehicle like a tractor trailer to make a left, so they're stopped in that northern lane. Cars are piling up behind them, and so if there could be some situation where there's just no left turns allowed in there. And one of the things I want to ask, the owner owns both properties, the 400,000 square foot cross dock and the convenience store, I want to say, the convenience store with pumps. Is there any way that this is not to be answered now, but just something for thought. Since they're the same owner, can they do something on the property where if you're at the convenience store or at the pumps, you can go to the cross-dock facility, or from the cross-dock facility to the pumps without exiting the property? So you don't have to go in Rockmart Road, come out Rockmart Road, go in 61, come out 61, so doubling the traffic in a sense, and then use the entrance and exits that are already designated for the cross dock and only have 2 entrances and exits instead of 4?
That's a great suggestion, and I'll mention that to the engineers
Okay.
who were on this project.
If it were different owners, obviously, then you'd have an easement, I suppose, and you have to,
Cross easements
But
within the parcel.
I imagine if I own this property, I'm going to have people that are dropping off or picking up a load and going to want to fill up while they're there. And if it's convenient for my customers to do that, they'll do that. And frankly, more important, if you don't, no offense, is I think it's more important for the residents that could conceivably cut down on, I don't know a percentage, but anybody that's dropping off a load and filling up their truck would be making two maneuvers, one in, one out, instead of two in and two out.
That's a-
And you'd have traffic further from the traffic circle and not be slowing down the purpose of the
May I
traffic
get a
circle.
clarification so that if you will look on the plan, there's employee spaces, 80 on the top and 70 below. And what your suggestion is that there be access from those employee spaces to the convenience store so they don't go out and come back around? So that employees who want to fill up or go to the convenience store can do that within the parcel? Was that your suggestion?
That's exactly right. So once you enter the property,
Yes, sir.
you can fill up, go to the car wash, get a hot dog, whatever, drop off your load, pick up a load, and have never left that property until your business is complete
Yes, sir.
and you're leaving the property. But when you're entering and exiting the property, you're exiting, with much further from the traffic circle. When you're exiting or entering, you're much further from the traffic circle. You're far further away from the neighborhood across the street. And I think it would, well, I know if there was joint access, it would lighten the traffic load. But I think it would also expedite.
Mr. Lang, I think you've made your point, and
Sorry.
they've accepted the idea that it might be conceivable, and they will look at it between now and the next meeting, so,
May I get about one more document?
okay.
This is the original zoning verification letter that the client got from the city. And it indicates that the convenience store, the retail convenience store is used as a matter of right under the current ordinance. I just wanted you to have that for your files.
Okay.
When you come back, what we'll be talking about is those additional uses that could likewise impact traffic. Well, thank you very much,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
I will, Ron, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Yes. Actually, I'm reviewing the letter that was just passed out. I just want to address it really quickly here, and also, why we're here and all of that. So, on October 21st in 2020, we issued a letter, but we issued a letter for verification purposes and certification purposes. If we recall, the city passed a new zoning ordinance maybe, I believe, a month prior to this. Actually, I'm sorry, it was a month after this, in November of 2020. In that process of doing so, the letter was issued erroneously related to the gas station uses. And so, with that, they once we realized that, and once it was brought to our attention in 2022, last year, we immediately, right away, we realized the mistake and we realized the issue, and we realized that, and that's the purpose why we're actually here today, is because the C1 zone that does actually permit for gas station uses. The I2 zone does not permit for gas station uses, and so we're any commercial uses that they would like to use on the parcel would need to be in a commercial zone, being that the industrial I2 zone only allows for industrial uses. And so there's, so again, we acknowledge the letter that he did. That is a letter that did come from us. However, the letter was erroneously issued. And so we're trying to correct that with this action when this does come back up.
Okay. Unless there are other considerations, I will entertain a motion to table this until the May meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll table this until May. Thank you for coming, though, tonight and giving us a little more explanation of what this is about. Okay, Ron, next item, AL20123, Liberty Point.
Mr. Chairman?
May I ask a question? Those of us who have comments concerning this project, are we now to defer our comments until your next meeting, or can we express those now?
You can express those after, when we have open comments later in the evening. So,
Alright. Our next item is ALT-01-23, Liberty Point. There's a request for an alteration to an existing PUD development to adopt a revised concept plan. This is something that was tabled for a number of months now. However, what if we recall, what we're trying to do here, we have a PUD development that was started in 2006. This PUD development was built off of a concept plan, or was supposed to be built off of a concept plan that was passed by the city council back in 2006, and the developer has since started constructing. They've constructed phases 1, phases 2, 3, and 4 of the development, and there's quite the extensive history behind it. However, there is a 5th phase that they are also proposing, and we ended up, once the 5th phase came into our office, we realized right away that this is certainly something that's outside of the concept plan, and when looking further and looking deeper into the folder, we realized that there has been quite an extensive history of issues with several phases of the development, 2 through 5, or 2 through 4 rather, which has prompted us to engage the developer to try to correct some deficiencies and to have a concept plan that actually looks like the development that they're building and have been building so far. So we stopped the 5th phase. It has not been approved. It never was, hasn't been approved. And we engaged the developer during dialogues and negotiations to fix some of the numerous deficiencies in the development. Some of these deficiencies were in the development code. Some of them were in the UDC, Unified Development Code. And so what we have in front of you tonight, and when you came into the room, you would have seen some papers here, some different files that we had that we put together on this development that are what our proposals were for the development should we move forward as conditions. And you'll see that, and I'll hold them up here. There's 2 versions that look kind of the same, but the date
that's
on the
what you
top.
just passed out?
Yes, at the beginning of the meeting, there's one dated updated January 30th, and then there's another that says updated March 17th. So in the course of our negotiation, we came up with an initial list that was quite extensive for some different changes that we would have liked. That's the January 30th list that you see there, and there's some additional documents behind that as well, including architectural design standards, certain concessions that we were requesting from the developer, in addition to some remedies, some proposed development standards out of the new zoning ordinance for the 5th phase to follow. And we've since given this list to the developer, and he's come back with his own version of the list of what he's proposing as a part of the negotiations, and we again countered that with the one updated March 17th, 2023, which is truly our final, truly our final time looking at this, being that we haven't had any comments from the developer since March 17th in relation to this, or since our last meeting, essentially. So at this point, the city is you know, and we can go through this. I don't know if we want to go through it in detail or not, but we certainly can. But at this point, the city is looking to pass the one here entitled Updated March 17th, 2023 Liberty Point Plan Unit Development Master Plan with the following bulk regulations, with new general provisions, landscaping, including the front of the subdivision along Connors Road, in addition to the detention pond that's on Connors Road as well. We're requesting a trailhead to the proposed Connors Road Park within the proposed Phase 5. We are requesting bicycle racks to be installed in the community, being that they are near this trailhead for our new city park. And that was a requirement that was in their Development of Regional Impact report from 2006 when they received their zoning, and they're not out there now. So in addition to several other things that are missing from the city's development agreement that we had with them in 2006 that has been updated several times. So there's also architectural standards that we would like to institute for the 5th phase as well, that are just ported right out of the new zoning ordinance, essentially. And lastly, there's some off-site improvements as well. There was a GRETA, like I mentioned, the GRETA Development of Regional Impact report should be finalized, or I'm sorry, should be followed rather. Anything that's outstanding that's within there, that included some traffic improvements on Connors Road. As we know, there's a new roundabout that's being constructed on Connors Road in the front of the subdivision. And there's obviously missing striping that should have been installed for turn lanes and the like. There's very large right-of-way out there, but no turn lanes or center line lanes or anything like that that was ever been installed. So I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. That really kind of hits at the most important points. But as of right now, the city is, being that their request is to alter the zoning, and they've proposed and they've given us a new concept plan that will better match their better match what they've constructed already and what they propose to construct in the 5th phase. We're not looking to deny, we're not requesting for that, that request to be denied, if that makes any sense. We're instead, we're hoping that the conditions that we've outlined in this new master plan document will be the sole condition for this developer moving forward and moving into the city council meeting.
Now, this just relates to Phase 5?
No, this relates to the entirety of Liberty Point, phases 1 through 5.
Again, that's already been approved by City Council. How can any of that be changed?
Because the
Is it a variance?
Nope, it's not a variance. It's being that they're not following what the city council did approve, then they've run afoul of their approvals.
So with this, if they choose not to follow this, what happens to Liberty Point?
Well, what would happen to Liberty Point, and I think I would want to leave that for the developer to really answer. But you know, from the city's perspective, any developer that would pick this property up in the future would have to follow these rules for the community. And no matter if that is from Robbie or if that's anyone else, we would treat them equally the same, being that there have been some strong and consistent there's been some strong inconsistencies, I'll say, you know, with this development across the board, including things as simple as the lot sizes in the community. You know, so when the city approves something, no matter if it's in 2006 or if it's in 2026, we expect the developers to follow our ordinances at all times. And when we have a situation where our ordinances have been broken for for a long time, and a lot of that can be, of course, attributed to city staff or you know, the approving of these different phases, right? But when we have repeated mistakes, we don't want to continue to repeat them. And that includes with the 5th phase, and that will be for any of our developers anywhere in the city. We don't want to repeat a constant issue that's happened, because there's real lives affected, and that is with the property owners that have even come out tonight. And I've met with them, the developer has met with them, and we've had lots of dialogue with the HOA, and there's problems and issues in the community that go far and beyond just this application tonight. And even ones outside of our office, outside of community development. There's consistent issues with several city departments that have been brought to my attention with Liberty Point. So we want to try to start this development, restart it in the right direction. And I think the best way to do that is with these conditions. It will instill a much higher quality development for that 5th phase, not just with architectural standards, but just with the amenities and finishing essentially the front of the subdivision, the Connors Road landscaping that's out there.
Well, you know, I have a problem in that, you know, we're just now receiving this. We have not seen this, so the commissioners have not had a chance to look at this. I just know that Liberty Point is a disaster. I mean, it looks like a war zone out there with the work that's being done. And that's not part of Phase 5. Phase 5 is in back of all of that. And this has been going on for years. And again, not having had a chance to look at this,
Would the commissioners want more time to look at it for another month?
I
I think
guess,
that's
although
just-
I hate to see it drag on for yet another month,
I
but
know, yeah.
I think there's no alternative.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, Ron, and I just want to say that when these applications and these plats have come up with Liberty Point, one consistent remarks that I've made is that the city deserves a better product with the land that we have available. And LGI is not doing it. It's not, and what they're doing over there is a mess. And it's almost like you're wanting to use the Planning and Zoning Commission to help clean up the things that were approved in the past. And that almost makes me feel like that you're trying to use a punitive, this is almost punitive to the developer, it feels like. So help me out with understanding that a little bit better, please.
Sure. So as a part of the, well, I'll start off this way, that we had an option here, really, depending on how you look at it, on how we could fix this type of a situation. If we know that there's a developer that's not following their existing concept plans, and we know that prior staff did approve certain plats under certain plats that were submitted to us years after that concept plan was approved, which was valid and still is legally valid on the property, then there is no way that we can continue to do that under our current staff. I mean, that was something that our engineer just retired, but our engineer ultimately is responsible for plat approvals. Or denials, essentially, or bringing them to the proper boards or what have you. But when we look at Phase 5 and we have a plat, we have a situation where a plat was submitted to us. Our first thing that we have to ask ourselves is, does the plat match what the city council has approved? And the answer to that is no, it doesn't.
So what's
we
the
can't
recourse?
sign off on it.
I mean, make them fix it. Make them build the product that they agreed to build that was approved by city council. I mean, go in here and make it, I understand that you want to make it work for, you know, clean it up, make it better and all that. But what got started with, and we go back to the plat approval, I mean, that authority was taken away. That recommendation was taken away from this commission, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Preliminary plat.
okay.
Well, the council approved it, so.
I understand.
Doesn't matter what
I
we said.
understand.
So, but,
Yeah. But this final
But we gotta
version.
clean it up. That's what I'm hearing.
So this final version is actually something that the city staff and the representatives for the applicant have talked about, this latest version. We started with one version, they came back with another version, and then now we came back with ours. And so we have certainly, if you compare the two, where we started to where we are now, there's quite a big difference between the two. So that we have listened to what the developer has also wanted, and we've taken that into account because he does have existing contracts and with builders and et cetera. And so we did work together with even the builder. We talked with the builder, we engaged them. They didn't have any issues with the plan as we submitted tonight. We've actually even acquiesced to some of the things that the builder had requested, and we were able to negotiate some of those different things. And so this is the result of that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Before you do that, I think I'd like to hear some of the public comments regarding this.
Can we
Because I
hear
know
from the
the
applicant?
HOA is here. Is the applicant here?
The applicant's attorney, Joe Fowler.
That's fine, but I would like to hear from the public too,
Okay.
before we make a motion.
I happen to be on both of these tonight just by coincidence, and I've been working on this with Ron. Was able to go to the subdivision, have a meeting with the HOA reps, some other representatives, the builder, as Ron said, and then also the current developer. This is $40,000 for Phase 5, all the engineering for Phase 5. And this all originated, and actually Bobby Elliott gave preliminary approval, but Ron's exactly right, never final approval, because at that particular point, the city was trying to do what Ron has just mentioned, and that is to have the developer of Phase 5 do something with respect to trying to, as was stated by Mr. Rogers, clean up the mess, as I think you described it, or give a better product. And I don't blame them for doing that. However, this is a PUD. It originated as a PUD. And the unique thing about a PUD is when it's adopted and approved after the council and the city council approve, that is the commission and the city council approve, that becomes the ordinance for this project, all phases, unless modified by modifying the original PUD. I don't know that it's ever been modified until requests have been made at this point to do that. I believe that's the point Mr. Rogers and the chairman were making a moment ago. So we did meet together, and I thought we were coming to a meeting of the minds with respect to how to solve the problem to satisfy the neighbors and also to meet the city's request to come together at some level. We began to reach a point beyond which we could not agree when we were asked to do the following. Construct at the street a wall 8 feet high so that sidewalks could be constructed. That's $150,000. Plant trees and shrubs throughout that area and all around the pool and the detention ponds, $75,000. 2 monument signs, $50,000, though the HOA, I understand, is putting up one of them with their resources. And then also some other matters with respect to architectural issues that are not in the original plan. Somewhere along the way, when discussions were taking place about what to do with respect to the road, the developer paid $12,500 into the city for things that were to happen on the roadway that never happened. So what my client's request is, at some point, not necessarily tonight, that Phase 5 be approved based on the original ordinance as adopted back a number of years ago. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. At this point, before we make a motion with the commissioners, are there any public comments that relate to Liberty Point that you would like to make? If so, come forward, give us your name and address. Now, I may cut off some of you because if we keep hearing the same thing over and over again, so please be as brief as you can. So,
Good afternoon. My name is Mantressa Walker. You need my address too?
Yes.
I'm at 520 Amelia Court. I'm actually in Liberty Point. I'm one of the homeowners. I just moved there last year. A lot of the issues that we're having now, I didn't become aware until after I was on the HOA. I am on the HOA board as well. I'm the treasurer. And the issues that we've ran into is that there were things that were already supposed to be done for that subdivision that have not been done. As he said, the sign, we are paying for a sign for the subdivision. A lot of the homeowners were really, adamant about that. But just seeing how business has been ran, it's really troubling to me. Just a lot of the things that I'm hearing, that we've heard. And as homeowners, and some of the homeowners are here tonight from Liberty Point, we just want our community to look beautiful. Just to hear the words that our community looks a wreck. That's disturbing. We want to be able to say our community is beautiful, and we want others when they pass by, oh wow, that's nice, but we can't even say that right now. I mean, I'm ashamed to tell people that I live there because of what's going on right now, and it's really hard to work with the developer, just as a from a treasurer's point, not getting into the business, but it's very hard for the board to work with him. He's very uncooperative. He does a lot of things behind our back, and just a lot of things that we don't know as it relates to the subdivision. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else has a different comment? Yes? Yeah.
My name's Aaron Boober. I'm at 1094 Dallas Highway, so I'm not at this part of the construction site where they're working.
Say your name again.
Aaron Boober, 1094 Dallas Highway. Well, my question is, I've been sitting back here listening, and the only thing I'm hearing is, hey, the city approved something, then it was altered. Now that you're asking for things to be done nice in order for us to keep our community decent, because right now it's a wreck. And all I'm hearing over here is, well, that's going to cost us if we have to do that for your community. Well, it's going to cost us this amount of money if it's for your community. It's our community, right? And it should be decent and respectful. And if they're not willing to do that, and considering from the sounds of it, the contract's null and void if they've already broke it. So why are we even listening? Because now he's saying, well, this time we're going to fix it. Well, what makes this time any different from every other time? This is my first meeting, and I've already found out just from what he said that this is a repetitive thing. This is my first meeting, and I just found that out. And I live in the community. We've been here since 1964, my family has. Today is the first time that I've been called up here about the job that you're about to do across the street from my house. Nobody's even said anything. And this thing's supposed to be like literally across the street from my house. When I begged this community to let me run a business out there, because I live on 61. Of course it's going to get busy. I get it, guys. We don't have a choice. 61's so busy that, of course. But when I asked, I was supposed to go to every person in my zone, and I had to get a written letter from every person saying that it was okay for me to even ask for permission to do it. Then I had to pay for an architect to do all the work. Then I had to come ask permission. And you still had the right to say no. But I just got a letter this last Friday, to come up here about, hey, we're about to do all this stuff across the street from your house too, that I was told on the phone from zoning it would not happen. It's going to stay private property over there. Well, if it's commercialized across the street from my house on the next one y'all are about to come to, that means me and 4 other houses on 61 are the only houses that are not commercial all the way up past the hospital. But nobody has said anything. We have got nothing. And it sounds like everybody else is getting the same thing here. Oh, hey, by the way, show up. And we've already done this, and now you just have to deal with it. So how is that going to be resolved? Where you're going to let the community know more about it? Because I thought it was supposed to be about all of us. I don't know if y'all live here, but I don't want to see us turn into Atlanta, right here in the middle of Villa Rica. I've already been told they're going right through the middle of Mirror Lake after the job in front of my house is done. And they're going to destroy it. For what? I mean, seriously, I don't know if y'all know. That's what I was told by the construction crew doing 61 right now. That they're going right through Mirror Lake. but nobody's even said anything to us about that either. I mean, we're a community, right? I'm sorry about the time, but I mean, we're a community. I thought we were all supposed to work together to keep it like this. We moved here because it's the country.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. I'll allow one more, and then we're gonna make a motion. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Jasmine. I'm also at Liberty Point, and my address is 384 Jada Lane. So, and I think speaking for all of the people that have came here from Liberty Point today is like you all said, this has been a mess. I don't think, and Ron, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we're asking for the city to come in and put any money towards fixing the neighborhood, because at the end of the day, that's not necessarily you all's responsibility if the developer didn't do what he was supposed to do. What we're asking for is for you all to now hold the developer accountable. When you drive by our neighborhood, like we met with the lawyer, he said he almost passed it. There's no sign, and to be honest, we've had to use our limited HOA funds. We just got a board as of December 2022, so we've had to use our funds to pay for it, this year's funds, and we are running, maybe we have 8,000 left for the whole year left over. The developer didn't help us pay for the sign, and typically most PUDs have a sign. Most of them already have a sign that's put in place by the developer or the builder. That was never done. But to hear words like, oh, it's a war zone out there. Some of us, and I'm speaking for myself, to move and to be able to buy a home was a dream. And I feel like my dream has been deflated because I was sold something that the product doesn't match what I was told. That's unfair. And in relations to the fifth phase, I don't want anybody else to have to deal with broken promises and things that they were supposed to have that they didn't have. If somebody would have told me, and I don't know if anyone else of my peers can agree, if I would have known this, I would have never bought there. I wouldn't have. I would have gone somewhere else. The asking for trees, I don't think that that's a lot. That hill is probably, how many feet would you say? 20. It's huge. It's very steep.
Well, regardless, go ahead.
Yes, and so the fact is, it's an eyesore. You drive down Connors Road, you see Liberty Point, you see, you don't really see it because there was no sign, but you pass by Mirror Lake, you see everything, and it just, once you get to our neighborhood, it just looks like the slums, and it's not the people that live there, it's the product. We were all supposed to have trees in our yard. That was on the planned unit development. None of us have trees. So if they're now asking for the city to have the developers put trees there, I don't see what's the problem with that. Robbie doesn't live in our neighborhood. He doesn't even live in Villa Rica. We pay taxes here. At some point, are y'all going to care what the homeowners and the people who live here care about, or more about the developer's interest? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that will conclude the open remarks. Ron, you have anything to add before we make a motion?
I think the public said it. What I
Okay.
have to say. Thank you.
David, if you want to make your motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we table this item to May 16th.
Is there a second?
I'd like to make a slight amendment to the motion if possible. Just if we can, with everything that's going on, it seems like this is almost our last chance to get this right. Can we table indefinitely? I mean, we're not even hearing back from Robbie. If we table indefinitely, maybe he'll get the point and start coming to Ron.
Unless the motioner wants to accept that, I'm not particularly interested in this dragging on and on and on. We've got to get some conclusion to this, so
Okay.
unless Dave wants to accept it.
Yeah, that's my motion.
So,
Table it to May.
okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Again, I hate to table this. I mean, it just drags on and on, but, the area across the road that's being developed, looks like a war zone, it does. I mean, has the city put in the curbing and is water and sewer in place out there?
I'd have to get an update from Bobby to find out. I don't recall. I don't think they haven't done water and sewer out there yet, have they? At Connors Road and Connors.
The curbing is all in place. I mean, you drive through there and, it looks like they're ready to go. So, okay, next item then, we've tabled this one. Where's my notes? Okay. Presentation to commissioners, that's been moved. So the
Yes.
next item is under new business, RA 0123, ARPIT Reality. Ron?
Okay, so RA-0123, Arpit Realty LLC. This is located on Punkintown Road and Dallas Highway. And they're proposing to rezone a number of lots from single-family dwelling, it should be single-family agricultural dwelling, AG, to commercial C1. And also to the SFA, single-family attached residential zone. So the proposal here is for a 120 55 and up townhomes, attached homes, that's to be located in the green area that you see on the east side of the site plan. And the blue area that you see represented is for commercial. And so sure. So the green area is proposed to be zoned SFA, single family attached. That's for townhouses, 120 plus or minus townhouses that would be attached. And the blue area is a commercial, low density C1 zone that's being proposed. And you'll also notice a realignment. If you can just scroll down just a little bit there, just a little bit. There you go. There you'll also notice there's some roadway changes there as well. So as a part of the roadway changes, and we may, I'm sure a lot of the public may have heard of the realignment of Punkintown Road as we know it today. The northern leg of it is a dog-legged intersection with Harrell Road at the dollar store that's located there on the corner. And we're looking to tie Punkintown Road in with the bypass, the northern bypass. So it would be all just one roadway, and that leg of Punkintown Road would also stay there the way that it is today as well. So as a part of that, there would be a new intersection created at Town Creek Drive and the newly aligned Punkintown Road. And as well as a another just a traffic, I believe it's a traffic circle, yeah, at the northern portion as well. So there's land, if you notice on the site plan, the southeast corner of the lower roundabout there on the bottom, you'll notice there's two lots at the corner of the existing Town Creek Drive and that right of way in between there. That's proposed to become the new county fire department station. That would also be as a part of this as well. And so,
And Ron, this
yeah,
does not seem to show the current roundabout, the new one they just put in at Punkintown and 61.
agreed. Yeah, it doesn't actually show that on here, that one diagram on here, but it is existing in that top left corner. Yeah, that's where the roundabout you're referencing. Yeah, that is.
So going to have several stacked in there all together, right?
Yeah, there'd be several. At least three in this one vicinity, possibly even a fourth one further up Dallas Highway at Stockmar at some point.
Joy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the
Now, oh, I'm sorry.
updates on Punkintown Road have not been approved yet, have they? They're
They
still.
have not, no. Mm-mm. So the alignment can always, can very well alter, but we do know, of course, where the bypass is coming in at. We of course they own the land. You can actually see it right here on the diagram there, the lot lines. on the south side of that northern bypass circle.
Well,
But-
it's gonna be a done deal, because they're out there moving dirt and trees and,
Yeah, and this spur off of Punkintown Road that goes up and connects with the North Loop roundabout, this effectively makes Punkintown Road the former East Loop that citizens of Mirror Lake vehemently opposed successfully
yeah.
years ago. This makes it East Loop. We haven't begun to see the truck traffic that's going to come down through that spur to
And
connect up.
Punkintown is in desperate need of updating and modernizing and maintaining. It's in horrible shape.
But that can be done without that spur.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
But
question. Yeah.
what Commissioner Flowers just said, the update and improvement to Punkintown can be accomplished without the spur being added. Who's going to pay for that? Is that the developer or the city?
Yes, so that was the next thing I wanted to go into. So this is a project this is node 5 of the proposed TAD development. And as a part of this, being that it is a TAD, a tax allocation district, we're still waiting to hear back from the county on, that would have serious impacts to obviously the financials of this project. As a part of that, and you can see in my updated report that I issued. Let's see, I'll open that up here so I can make sure I cover everything. Okay. Okay, so conditions number 8 and number 9 on the staff report, the planning report, it dissects the financial part of this if the TAD is approved versus if it's not approved. And I mean, we can go through that actually right now. So it reads out, should the city's east side TAD be approved and include this development, the applicant, developer, owner, and all successors and assigns will be required to develop the parcel as follows. Construction of a realigned Punkintown Road and traffic circle from the northern bypass to the existing Punkintown Road right-of-way, substantially similar in scale and site layout as shown on the submitted site plan. The road is to include a golf path on the east side of the road, which is also obviously a part of it, being that we have golf cart paths being planned for the Mirror Lake connector and within Mirror Lake existing now. The SFA zone portion of the project is to be developed as an age-restricted community, and the developer will make available a tract on the southeast side of the roundabout for a future county fire station, substantially similar in size, of course, with the what's already being shown. Number 9 reads that should the city's east side TAD be denied, or if this development is not included, the applicant, developer, and owner, and all successors and assigns will be required to develop the parcels as follows. The construction of a realigned Punkintown Road without a traffic circle from the northern bypass to the existing Punkintown Road right-of-way, including a golf cart path on the east side of the road. The city will not reimburse the applicant or any future owners of the site for the construction of the road without this traffic circle. The SFA zoned portion of the project would not be required to be age restricted either. No property would be set aside for a county fire station as well, being that it would no longer be required at that point. So, so there's a pretty stark difference there as far as the financials. We wanted to include that in so when you're making your decision, you would at least have that information in front of you. But there is a material difference to us having this TAD versus not having the TAD.
Ron, I've got a question. I'm going to back up just for a moment on the residential use of the 120 age-restricted ranch-style townhomes. Are those going to be fee simple, or are those for rent?
For rent. They're proposing for rent, for as far as the TAD is concerned, is just kind of backing a little bit into that, because it touches on that. The rental portion of this would be, no matter if the TAD is approved or not approved, that's what the developer is proposing.
Thank you.
Now, again, we've not seen any layout of this, where the roads are, what connects to what. What is this little crazy 200-foot wide sloop that goes up here to Stockmar Road? What is that?
When I was doing,
Whatever it is.
when I was doing the report, I noticed that there's the large parcel that's right next to this little skinny one there, is a house. It's an existing house that's on there, and the driveway exits out onto Stockmar Road. What it appears is that the developer has purchased both of those parcels together, being that they were under the same ownership before.
But what is the intent of that strip?
Yeah, I don't know what the intent of the strip is. It's just existing. It's the way that the lot is cut. I want to say it's maybe about 50 or so feet. Around here.
Now, what you,
Yeah, it's approximately about, I want to say about 50 feet wide. Maybe more, yeah, about 50 feet wide. So the developer is here, so he can, and his representatives, I assume, are here. They can speak on their own behalf for their project. However, as of right now, I'll turn to the recommendation portion. So as of right now, we have a number of conditions. We just went through just 2 of the conditions, but there's quite a number here, a total of 9 that we're recommending approval with these conditions. All the way down. Yeah, they're right there. You can stop. Yeah.
now, were
And
these
so I'll turn-
presented to us in
I'm sorry?
advance? Were these presented to us in the handout?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
these are all in here. The staff reports were sent out late. This one was sent out late last week. Yeah, it's entitled. It's dated April 12th.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can take questions, or if you want to call the applicant.
Now, you had read some materials before about the TAD and the subsequent effect. Is that from the city's perspective?
Yes, that's from the city's perspective. Yeah.
And has the developer agreed to those, or?
That's something that, unfortunately, I unfortunately don't know. Being that this is something that at the end of the week, we were able to get once we had the wording for our conditions, at least for the ones that I read out, and we met in-house, we were able to recommend, this is what we're recommending, to the commission. So we can ask the applicant tonight, and if he is is amenable to moving forward. In either way, we would need to, these are all just realities of the TAD not being approved or being approved. If it's not approved, we don't have the money for a traffic circle. The city can't reimburse him. And so we want to make sure that that's clear, and that's why we wrote that in the conditions as a part of the rezoning.
Okay, well, let's hear from the applicant if they're available.
Good evening. My name is Avery Ward with HRC Engineers, 6554 Church Street. So we are the engineers on this project, and we're working with the developer. He is here himself, so any questions can be addressed to him as well. So essentially, to answer some of your questions here, the roundabout to the north is a GDOT planned roundabout that is not really involved with our project. We're just connecting to it. That roundabout is going in no matter what. So The realignment of the Punkintown Road we are working with the city of Villarica and their engineers to design that road. And it is all part of the TAD, as Ron mentioned. So, and then to address the strip on the right side, that piece of land was purchased in order to provide golf cart access down Stockmar Road down to the golf course. So, can address any other questions you may have.
Down to the golf course. What, that has no bearing to the golf course.
It's just to provide access to the golf for a golf cart.
Only if
community.
you go a mile or so down Stockmar.
I'm not sure how far down it is, but I don't believe it's a mile.
Well, it's a ways, but, again, do you have any plans for what kind of commercial development will go in here, or?
It's uncertain at this point. We do have a convenience store that is interested, but there's really no other plans at this point for commercial.
And all of the residents are to be age restricted?
Yes, it'll be age restricted, 55 and older.
So would we qualify?
I'm sorry?
Would we qualify?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Any questions for?
I think we've addressed this before on single-family attached housing and specifically age-restricted. But and this was already covered, but I just want to confirm. So since the property is privately owned, and if for some reason there's not a demand for, is it 55 and over? If there's not a demand for that property, and at some point you have to have X amount of, tenants for it to be profitable, there's nothing keeping you from making it 18 and over at any time?
I think it would be restricted per city requirements. So I don't believe if it gets approved, then it would be 55 and older, no exceptions.
I'll just add in
Go ahead.
here. So
Mr.
the
Chairman.
city actually, we don't have any requirements for 55 and up, but I think what he's saying is if there's, obviously if we make that a condition for 55 and up, they have to follow the 55 and up condition. But we don't have anything in our actual zoning ordinance that requires that. But a property owner at any time can, if you're setting up in a situation like this, can set up a property for 55 and up, which would be protected by, I believe, state, if not federal law.
It's a condition of approval and then runs with the property, just as if it were some covenant or something of that nature. You can't,
Right,
you can't just change it at will.
Mr. Roger?
I'm going back to was there any thought on having these townhomes being fee simple? Do they have to be for rent? Is this a question for the developer?
Yeah, it would be a question for the developer.
Sure.
Is he available?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Kerry Dobbins, I'll be the one handling the development. The thoughts is, 55 and over make the best tenants. They pay the rent, they don't tear your houses up, you don't have a lot of problems with them. And we've done our research and there is a demand for 55 and older in this neighborhood. And the reason for the golf cart, we was asked to have access to Stockmar Road for a golf cart trail, where I don't know if the city's planning on coming up Stockmar Road with a trail or what, but if the residents wanted to go that way, they could. And then also they'd come back up to our commercial site. On the commercial, we've had requirements from some banks, some restaurants. We plan on building a convenience store on the Dallas end of the project. Been talking to a grocery chain in the other side here next to Punkintown. Don't have anything nailed down yet, so I won't give a name, but we have been working on that. We're here for the long haul. These townhomes will be Mr. Patel's retirement. He don't have any intention of selling, don't want to sell them. The whole concept was to build them to rent. That's what we told zoning people first time we come in and talked to them. Took us a while to put some of this together. I bought some of it from my aunt and uncle's estate, and then we put a bunch of other stuff together with it. The last piece coming from the doctor, the veterinarian down there, the last piece we got was from him. The 50-foot we bought from Sammy Harold's estate, which it was an old right-of-way that he kept to, I guess when he bought it, he thought he might bring Town Creek out on Stockmar Road. And we bought that from his estate. And be glad to answer any questions you might have, but I can't answer them.
Would
Sure, Avery
you,
can.
would you proceed with this development if that spur were not available?
Yes, sir, we will build a development even if the TAS is not involved. We do need to, you know, we do need to tie in to Punkintown and, you know, talking with y'all's staff and everything, this was kind of something they liked. We've had the engineer working with y'all's engineer and with the zoning people and everything, trying to get it something that works for everybody.
Well,
Have any elevations been submitted on these townhomes?
No, sir, it's all gonna be, single level, ranch style plans, no two-story. You know, it's gonna be high-end stuff, we're not gonna rent cheap stuff. You know, believe it or not, if you do your studies, and I'm not against anybody, but the cheaper the rent, the less they pay. More often they pay. If you got high rent, people that rent those pay their rent. You don't have a lot of evictions on the high end that you do have on the low end.
now basically, I see no access to this particular area except off of Town Creek Drive.
We will be building a road, and I don't get to show number of it, be building a road through the commercial property into the residential part.
Again, it's just hard for me to approve something like this without seeing some of those kind of details. I'm very concerned about that spur. That's going to make this unbelievably heavily truck trafficked.
Well, if it's against the law for the trucks to go through there, they, you know,
Well, they're going
Sure,
through
police-
Punkintown illegally now.
well, I can't control that, you know, that's,
Well, but this will make it infinitely worse, in my opinion. So, but again, you said you would be willing to proceed if that spur didn't exist. I think it's highly unlikely that that spur won't exist.
well, we've got to have that road down through there, whether we tie it into Punkintown or we put a cul-de-sac and send the traffic back, you know, back up. It's gonna take a lot of traffic off of the present Punkintown, bring it down that route and bring it down the new spur. That's the whole reason to doing it that way, because it's a lot wider and everything than what Punkintown is.
Well, I disagree. It's going to make Punkintown traffic significantly higher.
Well, that, you know, like I said, we
That's,
tried to design it in a way that was pleasing with the city staff, and that's what we'll come up with.
well,
I like everything about the development, with the exception of the abstract imagination I'm having to use on some of these elevations and some of these details. However, where you lose me on this one is all these for rents. I mean,
Well, if you go.
that's the
down
challenge.
and
That's the
try to-
challenge I've got. Put a 55 age restricted development in there with an HOA, fee simple, and they will sell. Make them nice. You'll get your price point. Do it that way. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just what I think.
If you go.
Everything else looks great. You're gonna make it up on the commercial.
In a nice neighborhood, there's a waiting list. There's no place to rent. And that's,
You know why?
sir,
You know why?
do I know why?
Yeah,
Well, there's not enough of them to rent.
because the existing homeowners and property owners don't want to be covered up with a bunch of tenants moving out of Atlanta to get here.
Yeah. Well, that,
hold on.
I've also
sorry, I
got,
didn't understand.
No,
No public comment here
Okay.
that's
right now.
not appropriate, so
Okay.
he'll get his time. Are there any other comments that the commissioners have for either?
Yes, sir.
Developer?
I agree with Commissioner Rogers also about, I've got concerns about the rental. I don't deny that
55 and older make the best tenants, but I know owners, pride and ownership, make the best neighbors and have something invested in it, the American dream, whatever you want to call it,
Thank you.
and take care of that property. And if you combine that with the fact that somehow it could become 18 and over, now you've got 3 single guys in a 1-bedroom. And, you talk to Villa Rica PD here, they'll tell you most of their calls are at these single-family attached houses on the weekends for noise complaints, parking complaints, all sorts of stuff. I don't know you, I don't know what you build, and I'm just talking about in general. And the other thing is, it just seems like we're being asked to make a decision with just so many unknowns. I mean, just, you take the spur, you take Pumpkin Town Road on itself. I know from, the past, I don't see any difference between the roads and water and sewer. And one of the first things the city, always asks is there enough water and is there enough sewer there? And if there's not, it doesn't happen. It's chicken and egg. The water and sewer has to be there first. And so what's the difference between roads for traffic and congestion and safety? If the roads aren't there, then that's the same as water and sewer not being there. I think this is just premature.
Well, like I said, there will be a street coming off the new road down, going through the commercial into the residential. We haven't done the design on it yet, so I don't have anything to show you. That's how we are gonna access it, is through the blue section into the green, with a 60-foot road that we had, 60-foot road. If you restrict it to 55, we couldn't rent it to teenagers if we wanted to. Your code enforcement guy would be out there putting me in jail if I was renting it to teenagers. And we'd rather, you say 55 and older, but most of the time you end up with older people than that. You don't have too many.
And is there something wrong with us?
Sir?
Is there something wrong with us?
No, that's what we
older?
want. We want
Okay.
the older people. Like I said, they don't tear your house up, they pay the
Yeah.
rent. If they don't pay the rent, the kids will pick because they don't want to move them back in with them.
Well, and when they buy them, they take care of them. They have
Right.
pride of ownership.
That's true.
And so I think owner-occupied, quite frankly, is a better way for us to go. Villa Rica does not want to become the apartment capital for people moving out of Atlanta.
Let me ask Al this. We on the 50-50? What about 50-50? We'll sell 50%, we'll rent 50%. We'll section it off somewhere.
I think this is something to further talk to Ron about, not for us to be up here haggling and making a decision on that.
Well, here's my thoughts on that, is, you build it fee simple, you put a rental cap in there of maybe, I think we've been working with 5%, where the HOA can allow 5% of the development to be rentals. And then you enter into, like, if there's a hardship or whatever, what have you, and some of that, I defer that with Ron or to staff. with
Ron
that,
was in
but that's-
agreement with what we had here,
I understand.
but it's, we thought.
Well, you asked me what we thought about
Go
50-50,
ahead.
and that's what I think.
It's fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Did you have one for me?
I'm good.
Sorry, I can't see who you're looking
Ron, I was talking about whether if he was asking 50-50, half rentals, half fee simple. And my suggestion to answer that is, just like we've done on the other 55 and older, where they are fee simple and there is a rental cap in there. So some of the units can be rentals under the current zoning or whatever the HOA decides, or.
That is,
I think
that's
we've been
very
holding
true.
it about 5% is what I think that we've been recommending to council.
I agree. I believe it was 5%. But if I'm not mistaken, when it got to council, I believe it was 10% is what they've been passing.
Council
So
approved 10.
I believe
Okay.
it's 10. I want to say it's
But
it's
not
10.
50.
And that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, 10. That's certainly not unreasonable. Correct.
You put some hardships in there, you might get 12 to 15, but that still is about where it needs to be. So we ask for 5, they give us 10. We're still under 15.
Any more questions for me?
Any more questions for?
Not me.
Thank you very much. No, we're going to have a public hearing on this particular development now. So anybody who wants to speak for or against this development, please come forward, give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Clark. I am the property owner of 163 Stockmar, which is the 4 acres directly east of this proposed rezoning. To save a little time, I'm going to refer to the parcel numbers just by the last 3 digits of 178, which is the 1 acre, 50-foot wide sliver you see there, and 045, which is the 10 acres adjoining that. You know, Villa Rica's growth is inevitable. Many people are opposed to it. I'm not. I welcome it. But it's got to be with consideration, not just for today, but for the future. And that's not only for the success of the city, but also for the success of the individual developments. Over the last few years, I'm sure we've all heard or been part of conversations surrounding water and sewer, traffic, K through 12 student population. I feel like the city is trying to charge forward with more and more development just because we have a developer that has the means to do so. I think our cart is getting in front of our horse. Beyond the infrastructure, let's see, why do we even have zoning if we just allow somebody to purchase the property with the sole intent of rezoning it for a different use? Why, if that's the case, let's just let everybody do what they want with any property they own. People buy property in specific areas for specific reasons. People that have bought off of Stockmar Road bought there because they wanted to be in a rural community but still have the access to the city. Having this development funnel out onto Stockmar, which is inevitably what will likely happen with that 50-foot wide, or what will try to happen with that 50-foot wide section, is going to change the entire feel. And being next to agricultural land that may at some point be a mini farm with some cows right next to these rental 55 plus, which is only 55 plus if the TAD is approved. It is in the city's recommendation, section E, comments 4 and 6. 6 is if the TAD's denied, the rental townhomes will not be reserved for age restrictive. And number 4 says applicant's proposal strongly relies on approval of the city's first tax allocation district. I think we're putting a whole lot of eggs in a basket that we can't see in right now. And I think the city, in their proposed approval of this, has certainly got some verbiage in there that protects the city, but I don't see much in there that protects the residents that live in that area when this thing becomes townhomes like behind Donrich Ford. So,
Thank you,
thank you
Ryan.
for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Sharon Burke. I live in Town Creek subdivision, and these rental properties or townhomes are going to be right up against me. I am a divorced woman with a daughter that has PTSD and some other mental issues that I take care of. We live there alone. I put a lot of money into my property, and the thought of rental people, and could be any age, we don't know whether it's going to be 55 or older or what age, just being right up on me like that, and then Punkintown Road being as bad as it is already. I've been in Villa Rica 23 years. I really don't want this right up against my property. That's pretty much it. Especially rentals. I know what rentals can be, how they can act. I've seen it. You know, from my sisters. So, I'm just the thought of that just unnerves me to no end. And the fact that it could be any age, and then the noise and all that, right, I mean, it's right at my property. Because Dr. Burnett used to be right behind me, and that's the land that they bought.
Right. I know what you're talking about, and you're right. It'd be,
And it's nerve-wracking, just the thought. I've just put so much into my property. And don't want to have to worry about people jumping the fence and stealing from me and whatever, you know. I mean, it's been such a good, safe subdivision so far. And I'd like to keep it that way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for or
over here,
against?
John, lady right there.
Hi, my name is Courtney Shook. We live at 51 Town Creek Drive. We bought this home in 2020. We're first-time homeowners. We really love the feel of our neighborhood, and the proposed road that they're rerouting literally connects right next to our property, onto our property almost. There are already significant traffic concerns where we live, significant noise pollution. This would drastically alter our neighborhood. We are not rich, so part of the conversation unnerves me with it needing to be higher end. Obviously, we're not above 55, so that is also a little bit unnerving. We just have a lot of concerns. The forest across from our home, we notice a ton of wildlife. We don't have any surveys on animal populations and biodiversity. The sewer impacts don't seem clear. The city water doesn't seem clear. Our storm drainage is already not great in that area. This is mimicking, but the traffic is not good there either. And I'm wondering how the proposed rerouting would affect me even just getting out of my own home. We really do have a great community feel where we are. I love our neighborhood. It's why we bought there. And it would basically alter all of that. The fire department being in that commercial zone would, of course, lead to more noise pollution. We do have the train, yeah. And I think it does affect our community culture. I think it does affect the small town feel we have here, especially in that area, to just have a lot of commercial and residential impact. And I think that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comment.
Is there any way to request any sort of survey, any sort of biodiversity survey or land survey of that area?
Well, presumably that would have to be done if this is approved as part of the conditions. So.
Okay. And just lastly, again, on the point of, I get and I understand that it needs to be high-end things to create revenue for the city. But again, I think that's kind of vilifying anyone that's impoverished. I live in this area because these two individuals rescued me from where I was to live in this area. And this area is a safer place than I have ever lived in. And I'm an impoverished person. So that's just a little offensive on that side.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Nicole, and we live at 645 Punkintown Road. And I don't feel particularly prepared for this meeting, but I'm really curious as to how that's going to affect our property. If we're going to lose any part of our property because of the road developments. We're at the corner of Punkintown and Town Creek Road, so that's hugely concerning. This is our first home too. It took us a long time to get here, and we're trying to be here for the long haul, but eventually, if we want to move, how are we going to be able to sell? That's terrifying. Also, having access to a map would be great. Because, thank you very much. But really, it's terrifying how our property value is going to go afterwards. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
One more to your left. There you go.
Hi, my name is Carla Harbin, and I live at 51 Town Creek. My wife already spoke a bit, but I would just like to reinforce the fact that I don't want this coming right up against my home. As a first-time homeowner, I never thought I'd be able to own my own property. I got out of renting because I couldn't afford to rent. It was twice as much as what I pay for my mortgage now, and when I rented, I couldn't get anyone to fix the leaking place above me, the bugs that got under the sink. I would have to fix all that myself, and then I didn't get anything, no returns back on what I had to put into it. And assuming that if this happens, and a good many of those want to be rentals, that's going to be people moving in and people moving out, people moving in and people moving out. I've seen it. I lived in rental for a long time, and it's going to be the same circle of, okay, it's Saturday now, there's going to be 7 U-Hauls, and there's not going to be anywhere to park, and there's going to be all of the traffic that's going to come down Pumpkin Town again. It's already pretty bad, and with another 3 to 4 traffic circles, I already feel that at this traffic circle that we have, people don't yield. People will just stop. They treat it as a 4-way stop. It's going to make traffic in that area exponentially worse. And not to mention the fact that there's already been so many mixed developments that have cropped up in this area. I don't see there, especially on what I read through of that paper, everything is still uncertain. There might be a couple of people here or there. We already have a convenience store. There's a Dollar General right at the end of that traffic circle. There's a Dollar General right behind Publix, and another one just a few miles down the road. We have what, I don't see anything that has been concrete enough to actually say that this is a needed thing. I agree with what someone had said earlier about just being able to buy up land and be able to bully their way into just changing the zoning that was already there. I bought this area because I wanted to have a quiet place to live, that I didn't have to hear Atlanta traffic all night, that I didn't have to put on sound machines so that I could sleep, so that I could get up and go to work, so that I could have a place with a fenced-in backyard for my dogs and have hope for a family in the future. I didn't want to have to fight against the Atlanta rush. If I wanted to do that, I would go back to Roswell or Alpharetta, where I had come from before. I am not interested in going back to that type of lifestyle.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. One more comment, and then we'll close the public hearing.
Excuse me, my name's Dennis Lingle. I live at 675 Pumpkin Town Road, which is the entrance to Town Creek. I'm the only house on this side of till Highway 61. And, I know stuff's gonna happen. This is the third house I bought in my lifetime that I bought in the country that I was in downtown. And there was no Mirror Lake, there was nothing. We've been there 33 years. And the biggest thing with me right now is the fact we're kind of up in the air about what should we do. Should we put a new roof on our house? Should we put we have no clue what's happening, and this is all tentative. I mean, until somebody approves it. And I don't know, we just liked where we bought. That's the first place. We came from Dallas, Texas, moved to Georgia. First house I saw, I bought because I liked the lot, I liked everything. And like I say, who can maybe help us? Somebody told me they're gonna put a sewer transfer or something in my front yard or something along those lines. y'all said something about a fire station. I don't know. And I think there's more than just me that doesn't know. I mean, we've seen plans before. This has been coming for 25 years or more. I remember we went to meetings, way back when. I was young, I'm old now. So, anyway, I don't have much to say except if I could find somebody, maybe Ron or whatever, that could say, well, maybe, or more than maybe, we're going to put a fire station here and you're going to have to sell your home or something. After 32 years, 33 years, it's going to take us 3 years to move, get rid of all our junk. I mean, we got attics full, garages full, everything. Anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. We're going to have to close this off. We'll have some time at the end of the meeting if you want to come forward, but we're well into the meeting plan, and so we're going to have to close it off at this. So, Ron, you want to, well, before we do that, any more questions of Ron? Any more questions that you have for Ron?
Excuse me.
No, I got a motion.
Okay. I would then entertain a motion on this particular item.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to deny the RA-0123.
Is there a second?
Second. Excuse me.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion to deny, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of denial? Unanimous. Now, don't get real excited. This is a recommendation of planning and
And they
zoning.
can always
This
resubmit.
goes to the city council, and we are an advisory board to the city council. I'm sorry? Well, thank you, but, you may want to show up at the council meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody tell it to council.
Yes. Okay, Ron, RA 0423.
Thank you.
All right, so we don't have to go too far for this one. RA-04-23, Amin Damani is requesting a rezoning on Dallas Highway in Punkintown. I'm sorry, it should just be Dallas Highway there, 974 Dallas Highway, but near the intersection of Punkintown Road. And they're looking to rezone from agricultural single-family to commercial C1. Their proposal, you actually see it on the screen there. It's for a 5,500 square foot convenience store and 3 gas pumps. So just to orient ourselves of where this property is, this is directly across Dallas Highway from the property we were just discussing. This is right next to the dollar store that's there on the corner with Carroll Road. So this is next to the dollar store. There is a third property on the right side. That's also an agricultural single-family zone property, and next to that is the proposed bypass route that's being cleared currently. The convenience store applicant is here today. There will be a moment for, of course, for public comment, but the applicant is here to discuss his proposal more in depth.
Okay, fine.
Ron, what is the recommendation of staff on this?
Sure, I'll go through that really quick here. All right, so the original let me move this closer. The original packet that we sent out, the original report actually that we sent out, we made, I believe, just 1 or 2 small changes to, but the way it is, it reads out, it's dated April 13th. The staff recommended denial, and the reasons for that is that it's not the highest and best use for the C1 zone out of the permitted uses within the C1 zone. We have obviously a growing corridor through here, as we know, and this is located according to the comprehensive plan and the future land use map passed in 2018. The use is located in a community crossroads area, so the future land use map recommends a higher density and intensity in areas that have community crossroads. So the intersection of Punkintown Road and Dallas Highway is considered in that zone, similar to the last applicant. But we also have if there's a possibility that there is an approval that the board is looking to make, we would like to make a condition if that is the board and the city council's wish. And that condition reads out, the applicant shall be made required to create a vehicular connection to the stubbed parking lot aisle within the parking lot at the adjacent Dollar General location. That's to eliminate, of course, access in and out of the site with only one way in and out. Obviously, this is not a corner property. A lot of gas stations, as we know in town, are on corner properties. We even heard tonight of an applicant further up on our agenda that was on a corner for a gas station. So we obviously know, and it's been established that an access is key to a gas station. The city's position is we would like to see this gas station obviously on a corner for the access related issues, and that the fact that we have two roundabouts that are either there or proposed on Dallas Highway, and we would have this applicant establishing a commercial curb cut in between those. This kind of goes back again to our discussion about Artisan Crossing and adding more curb cuts in intense areas, which is, in my opinion, as a planner, I think that that should be avoided at all costs. So we can't eliminate his access to the right-of-way, as we know, being that everyone has the right to obviously enter and exit onto their street. But what we would like to do is to alleviate as much traffic as we can that's going south on Dallas Highway by having that vehicular connection there, for folks that are going north on Harrell Road. At least we can try to have as many vehicular connections as we can have, and being that this is not a corner property, we can at least have an access, which if we go back to the Dollar General meeting, we'll remember that we left that access point there for a reason. So we would like for it to be utilized the way that we intended.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
No need. My name is Jonathan Telenis with HRC Engineers, 6554 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. I'm here representing Mr. Damani, who's also here. Thank you, Ron, for that readout of the conditions. I had a brief conversation with my client earlier. We would be willing to explore the option of connecting through Dollar General, assuming that easements exist or can be acquired through there. I did want to confirm whether that would still allow us to access on Dallas Highway, which I believe that Ron also mentioned.
Yeah.
But as Ron went through, we were proposing a 5,500 square foot convenience store with 3 gas pumps, and this is nestled between the existing roundabout at Punkintown and 61 and the new proposed roundabout for that bypass road coming through to our east. We tried to center the proposed access point as much as possible on the property to kind of minimize distance between those two roundabouts to encourage traffic flow without throwing people off or causing undue slowdowns on the road, and have made sure to leave space for landscape strips around the property to help screen against the adjacent properties that are residential or even the Dollar General to our west.
Now, there is a residence between you and Dollar General.
No, sir. No. So this property is adjacent to the Dollar General.
Is there? Now, we drove by that property yesterday, And I thought there's a house for sale between you and Dollar General.
I do not believe that to be the case. My belief is this property is right next to the Dollar General.
Okay. There's a big for sale sign up there for somebody.
For them.
Yeah, that's
For them.
that's Mrs. Andrews' property.
Okay,
That's
all
that's
right.
on the table.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman? Yes, Doug?
How far, you said in between the traffic circles?
Yes, sir.
To try and lessen, how far is the intended entrance exit from either or both of those circles?
I would have to go in and measure, but I do not know off the top of my head what the distance to that is, but I know we tried to place it so that it would be as equidistant as possible between the two, to maximize that distance.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Have you looked and seen the location of the nearest other convenience stores with pumps to a location that you're trying to establish?
I personally have not. It's a 0.4 miles.
Yeah, so I went and looked at that. There's, the furthest one is at Publix, which is 1.5 miles. And then on 61, there's one at 0.6 miles and one in between that, one at 0.3 miles. So if this one were built, that would be 3 convenience stores with pumps within just over a half a mile on 61. Has there been any thought to that? Is that something that is really of value to the city? I mean, something that's really needed?
So the primary draw to this particular location is that proposed bypass road coming through. This would be the closest convenience store to that connection. And I'm to be clear, I'm not referring to the one that we just heard with across the street, but the planned road with that the new roundabout that is proposed east of this property.
Okay.
Okay, any other?
So do you have any problem? I know you mentioned that you would agree with the cut that adjacent to Dollar General, and that was a condition that was put on Dollar General to allow for that interparcel connectivity. Would you also be willing to do a similar cut that stops at on the north side of the property? Because as progress moves down, the little ranch house there next to it will probably be redeveloped at some point, and
Absolutely.
there we're looking at the interparcel connectivity.
Yeah, no, it definitely anything to help reduce the impact of any traffic on the road.
And it's convenient. I mean, you'd have more traffic come to the gas pump.
Exactly. Get stop there for on your way to McDonald's or whatever happens to go there.
Thank you.
Any concern about traffic going north on 61 and then crossing over to get into your pumps?
You're referring to traffic that would normally be going north, like
Yeah.
going west to come over here and then going back, or are you talking about coming and using that as a cut through?
No, going up 61, the way it's currently, past the traffic circle that exists now, would have to turn left to get into your pumps and
Yes, sir.
come
So-
down, traffic coming south.
So that's one of the advantages of the connection with Dollar General that Ron mentioned, is
Okay.
that if somebody was going to be coming north to come to our property, rather than having to make that right and then and make a left on 61, they could come through the Dollar General property.
If they think about it.
If they think about it, yep.
Any further questions for him?
No.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Ron? Any additional comments that you care to make?
No, I'll leave it to you guys.
Okay, okay. Well, at this time, let's open to public comments. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this proposed property, please come forward, state your name and address. Oh, there is a taker. Yes,
Ryan Clark, 163 Stockmar Road. I'm not for or against this particular property, but it goes back to the bigger picture of development within Villa Rica and the proposed rezoning across the street, of which a gas station was discussed in there as well. If we take individual pieces of the puzzle and look at them by themselves, we're going to end up with a disaster. We're going to end up with residential being next to commercial and gas stations or Mexican restaurants and Dollar Generals on every corner. We're almost there. We're almost there. But we've got to start looking at this stuff as a bigger picture. I mean, I believe you said there was currently 3 or 4 gas stations within a mile and a half. It was just mentioned to have one across the street. That's going to put us at 4 or 5. Now, this one being 6. We've got to look at a bigger picture.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir?
I just have something so everybody can kind of take this into picture.
Name and address.
Where we're
please.
talking about.
Name and address, please.
Aaron, it's 1094 Dallas Highway. Where are you talking about this gas station? Where are you talking about the last job that we just talked about? Okay, all that is in the same area. They're all together. Villa Rica starts 4 houses down from where I live. The 5th house, which stops my neighbor, that's where the private property stops, and then it goes commercial all the way up through toward the hospital. The other side of the road, what he's talking about, that last job that he was wanting, not the gas station, but the one before that, where he's putting it in, he talked to y'all the whole time about the townhomes. But if you looked at it, the townhomes were on Stockmar Road. The actual commercial property that he's talking about, that he said could be a grocery store, could be a gas station, could be whatever they want, is on 61. The only thing stopping them from taking the corner on Stockmar Road with it is the church. So in other words, the only part of Villa Rica that would be private property owned from the start, when you're coming from Dallas, coming into Villa Rica, would be the 5 houses, which one's mine, on the right. Other than that, the rest of it is just starting to get to be, you just can't, it doesn't make sense anymore. There's so much going on that everything doesn't even look the same anymore. And like I said, we've owned it, my parents have owned it since the 60s. We moved here in 09. And I get that it's getting busy, but nothing's being discussed on this stuff like him. He never said anything about the commercial part of it. He just told you about the townhome part of it. The commercial part of it, though, is on 61. Y'all know how busy 61 is from coming through there, if you've even been there at all. Even since the roundabout, the traffic is so bad that it's miles around the corner. What's it going to happen when you're putting commercial in? And commercial, we don't even know what commercial it is. We don't even know what it is. We already know townhomes and apartments, when you start bringing younger people, bring crime. Okay, but if there's nothing holding them to that, who's to say that I can't be 55 and just go ahead and rent the place and let my 18-year-old or 19-year-old stay there? Doesn't matter, right? As long as I'm the one owning it. And that's the thing, is it's like everything is just being pushed on us. And it seems to be here just the past few years. Everything was so calm and peaceful the past few years. All of a sudden, I look up and it's like just Villa Rica is just being demolished. So is Villa Rica planning to turn into like twice what Douglasville is? I mean, I think that the community should know, so that we know if we need to go. Like y'all said, y'all don't want it to be just apartments that are being rented out everywhere, because we all know the crime and all that stuff. But like he said, each piece they're throwing at you, it's just this job, but they're all actually like one, just right on top of each other until there's nothing left of us. Like I said, I've been pouring all my money in my home because I like Villa Rica. I think we all get along great here, but now it's getting just like commercial. As soon as this job hit, and we've been waiting on it for what, 6 years? Or so, however long since, because they told me in 2018. But now that it started, it's like it's just downfall.
Thank you very much. As you know, we just rejected that development, so, but we can only see them one at a time, so. Okay, if there are no other comments about this development? Yes, ma'am? Last one.
Sharon Burke, isn't it true though that I was told that even though y'all declined it or knocked it down, that the city council can still approve it.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Show up at their council meeting. So,
thank you.
okay, we've heard public comments. I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I'd like to say, Mr. Chairman, that, you know, I hear that, I hear Ron about highest and best, and I agree with that. Something more, higher density, more, you know, could go there, but right now we've got before us this proposal, and, you know, I remember when we took a look at that Dollar General rezoning, we all knew that what's coming down 61, and that's why we thought about and recommended the interparcel connectivity. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the item with the conditions that the interparcel connectivity be made to the Dollar General interparcel connectivity that is in place there, and also a interparcel connectivity on the north side of the property as well.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion with conditions as presented? Opposed? 2-2. Unfortunately, our fifth member is not present tonight, so.
No, I voted for.
Oh, you did? Oh, I thought you voted against.
No.
Okay, let me do that again. All in favor? Okay, opposed? 3-1. Phew. I missed something the first time. Okay. Staff comments, Ron?
We're having a high volume right now in the office, with a lot of new developments being proposed, a lot of variances being requested, special exceptions, and the like. So there's probably at least one other application waiting to come to this commission, and at least 3 applications for city council right now that would go to them directly. So you know, the next month is probably going to be busy with the remaining items that we have on this agenda, as well as that one new item. So, you know, it's definitely picking up for the season. So,
Is there,
Keep you out of trouble.
is there a Zoom meeting on Thursday?
next Thursday.
Not this Thursday?
No, not this Thursday. We have it next Thursday, and we have at least one applicant on there as well. I believe it's a industrial developer, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I open it to public comments, be aware that this commission is aware of what is going on and some of the concerns that have been presented. And we have tried to reach out to the council to get more, and not just the council, but to the mayor and the council, to get more and more involved in planning. Our title is Planning and Zoning. What you see and what we seem to do most of is zoning. We want to get more involved in the planning process. And it's not easy to do, but we're trying to reach out to the city and the staff to get more involved in doing that. Whether that'll happen or not, the thing Ron and I were just talking about, a Zoom meeting, is a step in that direction where we do get somewhat involved in, we can't respond, but we can listen to what some of the plans are that are coming forth. So again, we're trying to do more and more of that. But with that said, I will open it to public comments. Those of you who did not get a chance to address the commission, please do so at this time. Your name and address.
My name is Michelle Sanders. I live at 727 Sycamore Drive in the reserve at Reed Plantation. I've been a Carroll County resident for the last 22 years, and I've been in Villa Rica for the last 10 years. I vehemently, I'm going to use your word, I was thought about earlier, oppose the rezoning of the corner of Industrial Drive and Rockmart Road to commercial. I don't think a convenience store is necessary, and it would only impact the traffic even worse, and it would impact my home value. I was born and raised in Cobb County. and I will never move back. It is overrun, and it has overdeveloped. And I moved to Villa Rica because it was a small town, but still convenient to Atlanta if I had to go. And I had a disabled sister that passed in 2019 that I had to go and do for quite frequently. My son has grown up in this neighborhood. We have a quiet neighborhood. There's a lot of traffic. It's almost impossible to get in and out during peak hours and even on the weekends. A commercial development would be a nightmare, and I dare say would prompt me to put my home up for sale. It's, when do you draw a line? Does the almighty dollar speak for Villa Rica, or does quality of life and good residents is what Villa Rica wants to attract? I'm already not happy about it being an industrial development. It's going to be a nightmare, but they're talking about trucks being able to fuel up at that station. Then we're not talking about a convenience store. We're talking about a truck stop with 18-wheelers coming in and out all hours of the night. And it's disheartening. I've already emailed my city councilwoman and took time out of my day to come and speak with you all because it's just getting out of hand. And tonight it's been one development after the other, primarily on Punkintown Road in that area. I feel bad for the people in that area, and I feel bad for my fellow residents in Reed Plantation, and the majority of which do not want the commercial development to come on that corner. The bypass, I think, was unnecessary. Most of the traffic that comes off Industrial Boulevard turns left on Rockmart Road to go towards Rockmart and Paulding County. So I think that was unnecessary, but there's nothing I can do about that. But I ask that you respectfully decline the rezoning to commercial for that area.
Thank you very much. Sir? You've been patiently waiting, I know.
My name is Michael Valentine. I'm at 117 Reed Plantation Drive, and I totally oppose this idea of this development going across from our subdivision. My wife and I are retired. We bought our home in Reed Plantation. That's our forever home. We had no intention of ever looking for another home anywhere. That's our forever home. We have invested almost twice as much as we paid in that home in upgrades, developments. We don't want to move. However, if you do this, our property values are going to go down, and we have and no telling what else will come with these semi-trucks, convenience store. Who would want to build or buy a residence across from this development? I doubt any of you would. The traffic there is a nightmare. The bypass is a fallacy as far as it concerns Rockmart Road and Reed Plantation. It's intended to move traffic, semis, around Villa Rica. The stop sign is going to be gone. They're going to increase the number of roads that we must cross to make a left turn. The only savior that we have is that stop sign. We can look down the road, see traffic stop, and that gives us an opportunity to plan our exit. Now that the bypass is going to be there, it's going to be a steady flow. And as was just mentioned, the majority of that traffic doesn't go the bypass. It turns and goes down Rockmart Road, down our way. It's going to increase. It's going to be a nightmare for us to get out of there. I'm amazed that it's gotten this far. I had no idea that this was happening until recently, until somebody in our neighborhood posted on our Facebook page that this was happening. I never realized, my wife and I bought our house about 11 years ago. I never realized that in that time period, that property had been rezoned. When we bought our house, it was a beautiful wheat field. I say wheat, whether it was wheat or not, I don't know. But I used it many times for photography. Wonderful. Then I saw the planting of the pine trees. Great, beautiful. I thought agricultural or some sort. Never did I know or receive a notice or indication that it was being rezoned, which apparently took place in 2020. I love my home. My wife and I have already started looking at homes elsewhere out of fear of what you or our city council may decide on this property. We have to be prepared. I have the bypass going in my backyard. I'm worried about that. I do not want to move. This is my home. Villa Rica is my home. And I don't want to give up my house, but you're going to force me to. I wish I had more time, but anyway, it's how it got here. I have no idea. Let me real quick say, I heard the city deserves a better product. We as citizens deserve a better product. I heard value to the city, value to the neighbors, to the residents. That should be considered too. Apply that to us. We're of value to the city of Villa Rica. I, with what I do, play an important part to the city of Villa Rica. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Please, people, this should never have gotten this far. Never. So I ask you to please deny, I know my time is up, and I appreciate you listening to me ramble, but I would greatly appreciate you denying this request to rezone. And again, how it got to where it is right now is beyond me. Look around. Oh, I'm rambling. But have you seen the 2023 VR Comprehensive Master Plan? Have you seen that?
Isn't written yet.
Oh, it's being displayed.
That's the 2018 comprehensive
It's
plan.
displayed as the 2023 Comprehensive Master Plan.
It's being developed now, and that's what all the community meetings have been throughout the city taking place. It's planning to rewrite, add to a state-required comprehensive plan that was last written, and what you're looking at in writing is the 2018 plan.
But it's being displayed.
Well,
To me, if I were to walk in as a citizen or somebody considering, that display is labeled prominently 2023 Comprehensive Plan. But anyway, my point is, the property that you're considering, it is labeled Suburban Village, not associated to industrial commercial at all. And if you look around the properties around there, they are residential. The county property that borders up to this property is residential. Us across the street, we're residential. It makes absolutely no sense to me as how this ever happened. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hey, I would like to say that I believe you used my words a couple of times in there, the city. And I want you to understand that we're a volunteer, and when I say the city, I mean the residents. I mean the people that live here. I mean myself, my family, yours, and everybody else's. So when I say the city, in that regard, that's what I'm meaning. So just to clarify that. Thank you.
I'll entertain one more public comment.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Wilson. I live at 51 Town Creek on Pumpkin Town Road. Just to repeat what everyone else is saying about thinking about the long-term plan of what the planning is, and I know y'all are really trying to get into that with the city, and thinking about the ecological impact of the area, the air quality of the area, and the power grid for the area. Our house loses power like a lot whenever there's like not even just a storm, a lot in the area. Our house loses power from the power grid in the area. But yeah, basically just thinking about the long-term impact of like what is actually needed. Again, I myself am also not necessarily opposed to certain types of development, and when I say that, it's something that would be stepping stones for what the city will look like in the future, incorporating the ecological impact, the environmental impact, because that affects us as well with air quality and the wildlife that is in the area being pushed more and more out. There's a lot more roadkill now on the road off of Pumpkin Town Road. There's a lot more roadkill on the adjacent road coming from the roundabout. So just thinking about all those things long term, what's needed and what the city is really going to develop into while still incorporating its natural state and its small town feel as well. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I do, again, want to call your attention. The city has set up these 5 meetings that have been moved around the community for an opportunity for citizens to come in and speak directly to the directors and staff of the city. There was one tonight at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock at the Mirror Lake Elementary School. This is the 4th one. I think there's one more planned. And if you have not been to one of those, get out to those. That's a chance for you to speak to the city manager, to the directors of water and sewer development. Recreation is also an area being discussed. So get out to those. They're posted on the city's newsletter. Maybe Ron or Terry know when the next one is scheduled?
It is on Thursday, April 27th at 3 p.m., and that's at the public library.
Okay. Get out
Public
to those.
library. Sorry, this wasn't on. Public library, April 27th, meeting number 5. That's a Thursday, at 3 p.m.
And, I'm sorry? Well, that's why they've been moved around at different times. They were in the afternoon, they were in the evenings, for the convenience of the citizens. But let me tell you,
3 to 7 p.m.
we're lucky if 10 to 12 people show up at those meetings. So get out and talk to the representatives. I mean, they're willing to listen to you, but people don't care. So you come out and you speak very well tonight, but get to your representatives elsewhere. Get to the council meetings. Get to these public meetings. Well, they're published on the city website. They're published on the weekly newsletter that comes out. If you look online, they're there. So, well, okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to
Mr. Chairman, I
adjourn.
move we adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Yeah.
2
Thank you
hours,
very much for coming. We appreciate your attendance.
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mr. Lang, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you. I recognize you.
The only